The afternoon sun beat down on the busy streets of the city as people rushed from one place to another. In a small garage tucked between old buildings, a young mechanic named Armin worked tirelessly under the hood of a worn-out sedan. His hands were covered in grease, and sweat dripped from his forehead, but he never complained. Every day, he repaired cars from morning until late evening, earning just enough money to pay rent and buy food. Most people barely noticed him. To them, he was just another poor mechanic struggling to survive. Customers often spoke to him without respect, assuming that someone who worked with engines all day could not possibly be educated or talented. Armin would simply smile and continue working. What nobody knew was that he carried a secret. Years earlier, when he was a teenager, he had found an old Japanese language book abandoned in a second-hand market. Curious, he bought it with the few coins he had saved. At first, he only wanted to learn a few words. But the language fascinated him. The more he studied, the more he wanted to know. Since he couldn't afford classes, he taught himself. Every night after work, while others slept, he sat under a dim lamp in his tiny apartment, memorizing vocabulary and practicing pronunciation. He listened to free recordings online and repeated phrases for hours. Some nights he was so exhausted that he fell asleep with books still open on the table. His friends laughed when they found out. "Why are you wasting time learning Japanese?" one of them asked. "You fix cars. How will Japanese help you?" Armin never argued. He simply smiled and continued studying. Years passed. His Japanese became so fluent that he could hold complex conversations, but he rarely had the opportunity to use it. Life remained the same. He still repaired engines, changed tires, and worked long hours in the garage. One day, a major international business conference was being held at a luxury hotel across the street from the garage. Expensive cars lined the entrance, and wealthy guests from around the world filled the building. Armin was repairing a luxury sports car near the hotel entrance when a sudden commotion caught his attention. A famous billionaire businessman named Malik Rahman had arrived for an important meeting with a Japanese investor. The partnership they were discussing was reportedly worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Everything seemed perfect until a problem arose. The interpreter who was supposed to assist them was stuck at the airport due to an emergency. Another translator couldn't be found in time. As a result, communication between Malik and the Japanese investor became increasingly difficult. The Japanese businessman spoke very little English, while Malik knew almost no Japanese. Hotel staff rushed around frantically. Executives checked their phones, desperately searching for someone who could help. Minutes turned into nearly an hour. The atmosphere grew tense. A delay could ruin the entire deal. Standing nearby, Armin quietly watched the situation unfold. Finally, gathering his courage, he approached one of the assistants. "I might be able to help," he said politely. The assistant looked at his greasy clothes and dirty hands. "You?" he asked skeptically. Several people nearby chuckled. "This is a high-level international meeting," another man said. "Not a car repair shop." Armin's face remained calm. "I understand," he replied. "But I speak Japanese." The group exchanged amused glances. The assistant hesitated before deciding they had nothing to lose. He led Armin inside. As Armin entered the luxurious conference room, everyone stared at him. His worn clothes looked completely out of place among the expensive suits and polished shoes. Malik frowned. "Who is this?" he asked. The assistant shrugged. "He says he speaks Japanese." The billionaire looked doubtful. The Japanese investor appeared equally uncertain. Armin respectfully bowed and greeted the investor in fluent Japanese. The room instantly fell silent. The investor's eyes widened. His expression changed from confusion to surprise. Then he responded in rapid Japanese. Without hesitation, Armin answered perfectly. For several seconds, the two carried on a natural conversation. No one else in the room understood a word. But they could clearly see the investor smiling. Soon, Armin began translating between both sides. What started as simple communication quickly evolved into detailed discussions about business strategies, financial projections, manufacturing agreements, and future partnerships. Armin's Japanese was not merely conversational, it was remarkably advanced. The Japanese investor became increasingly impressed. At one point, he laughed warmly at one of Armin's translations and nodded approvingly. The atmosphere transformed completely. The tension disappeared. Negotiations moved forward smoothly. For nearly 3 hours, Armin served as the bridge between the two businessmen. Finally, the agreement was completed. The investor stood up and shook Malik's hand. Everyone applauded. The deal was officially secured. Afterward, the investor turned toward Armin. Speaking through him one final time, he said, "Without your help today, this partnership would never have happened." The room erupted into applause once again. Malik stared at the young mechanic in disbelief. He could hardly understand what had just happened. Hours earlier, this man had been repairing cars outside. Now he had helped close one of the most important deals of the year. Curious, Malik invited Armin to sit down. "Where did you learn Japanese?" he asked. Armin explained his story. He told them about the old language book. The late nights. The years of study. The sacrifices. The ridicule from others. As he spoke, the room grew quiet. Many executives who held prestigious degrees felt humbled by his determination. The Japanese investor listened carefully. When Armin finished, the investor smiled. "In my country," he said through translation, "we deeply respect people who dedicate themselves to mastering a skill. Your discipline is extraordinary." Malik nodded. Then he leaned forward. "I have a question," he said. Armin looked at him. "Do you really want to spend the rest of your life repairing cars?" The mechanic paused. "I don't mind honest work," he replied. "But I have always wanted a chance to do more." A smile appeared on Malik's face. "Then perhaps today is your lucky day." He reached into his briefcase and handed Armin a business card. "I want you to work for my company." Armin's eyes widened. The billionaire continued. "We need people with talent, determination, and integrity. Skills can be taught. Character cannot." The offer included a salary far beyond anything Armin had ever imagined. For a moment, he couldn't speak. Years of hard work, invisible effort, and quiet persistence had finally been recognized. A few months later, Armin began working in international business relations for Malik's company. His language skills proved invaluable. He helped negotiate contracts with overseas partners and quickly earned respect throughout the organization. Over time, he rose through the ranks. Yet despite his success, he never forgot where he came from. Occasionally, he would visit the old garage where he had once spent countless hours repairing engines. The younger mechanics there often asked how he had become so successful. Armin always gave the same answer. Never let other people decide what you're capable of. The skills you build in silence can change your life when the right opportunity arrives. And every time he walked away from that garage, he remembered the lesson that had transformed his future forever. People may judge your appearance, your job, or your circumstances. But they can never truly measure your potential. Sometimes, the talent that changes everything is the one nobody expects you to have.